Hey guys, Eddie Deline here. Very excited to share with you today how I turned only $30,000 worth of superannuation into almost $300,000 in less than 3 years. Inside, using superannuation as a deposit to buy the property. I've done a superannuation video probably about 3 to 4 years ago. I'll have the link pop up around, but it kind of went a little bit viral over the last 3 to 4 years because it was a very basic, not the best quality kind of video, but it was explaining how I, at the age of I think it was 26 or 25 when I bought my first property using superannuation. So I want to break down one of the purchases that I made. I now, out of those 100 plus properties in my own portfolio, I've got about probably 8 at least inside a self-managed super fund. This one here I'm going to show you, which was an amazing buy that I picked up during 2020. Hopefully the photo will pop up somewhere in this video, but I bought this property for only $135,000. The address is there. I'm an open book. Here is the information, right? It was a strata titled townhouse in the complex. Everyone used to give me shit for buying properties that have strata. They still do to this day. I, at the time, bought this property, I would say at least 20% below market value. Now, there was probably about 3 to 5 grand worth of work to do to this property. I actually previously showed this property to clients and they didn't want to buy it because they were worried about the $3,000 to $5,000 worth of work to be done on it. So I ended up buying it myself. That's the story, right? So I just sold it for $395,000 3 years later. The property is almost tripled in value, which is insane. Nobody that I know, no other investor in Australia could get that type of return. That is an amazing result, right? I'm gonna explain how I got into it with the whiteboard right behind me and how you could also do this same strategy for you building your own property portfolio inside superannuation as well. Or if you're tapped out with servicing or borrowing capacity or in your individual name, how you can also do it using your superannuation at the same time. The property I bought, again, it was 135K, right? Now, when I bought this property, I didn't have 135,000 in superannuation. I only had, I think about 50 grand in super, probably less. I think it was 45 or something. Inside superannuation, you can, once you roll it over, you create a self-managed super fund. Now, I'll put a disclaimer in this video as well. I'm not a financial advisor or accountant or anything like that, but I can refer you to people who are if you would like some help with this. Once you roll over your super into an SMSF, then you've got the fund sitting in a cash management account. So I had about 45,000 sitting in the account. I got a pre-approval from a mortgage broker. They go to a SMSF lender. I think at the time I went with for this particular property, I went with Liberty or Latrobe as an example. There's tens of lenders out, there's about probably 10 at least lenders out there that will do loans for SMSF. Usually the minimum requirement is a 20% deposit. I bought that property here and hopefully the photo's still up there. For 135, I did a 20% deposit, right? So 20% deposit on 135 is about 27K only, 27,000, right? And again, I had about 45,000 in there, roughly. Stamp duty, off the top of my head for this purchase, I don't even remember. It's probably 4 grand. 4 grand of stamp duty. All right, 4 grand stamp, right? I'll just put S for stamp. 2, 3 grand for legal, say 3 grand for legals, worst case. It's probably less than that back then. But you've got, in terms of other costs, etc., that was basically it. So 34,000, say rounded up to 35K. So I turned 35,000 into an asset that was worth I bought it for 135, it was worth probably 170, 180 at the time. And then in 3 years, the property went to 395K, right? Now, I'm not a big fan of selling property, as you probably know. But in super, one key rule is that you cannot take the equity out. So I got the property valued, it was 395, almost 400,000, right? The loan on it was only, at the time of selling it, it was $97,000 roughly, because the loan went down over that 3 year period. So it was 97K, the loan was at. So I nearly cashed out 300K, right? I'm selling it right now, it settles within the next week or two, but it's unconditional. It's done, it's dusted. Out of that, if you deduct all the fees and all that other kind of stuff, now capital gains tax is minimized. I won't give you the exact figure, but it's a lot less when you do sell inside super. Contact your accountant or contact us, and we can put you in contact with my accountant, either or. But so say I cash out, let's say, after paying off the loan, then even if I still cash out 280 hypothetically, which would probably be more than that, but just say 280 cash after selling fees, legal fees, capital gains tax, all that other kind of stuff, because it's a small amount of capital gains tax. So over that period of time, I turned 35,000 almost to 280, almost 300K. Now, in a percentage value, in that period of time was what I want to show you right here. If that 35K was just sitting in super, and let's say I got 10% return per annum in super, I'd say, which is, most people say is the average, sometimes less, but let's just say if I got 10%. 10% of 35,000 would be 3.5K, right? So over 3 years, 3.5K, 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 I've got an extra 10 grand, let's say 12 grand, right? So plus 12 grand, I would have had 47,000, right? Just sitting there, or around that kind of mark, probably even less. I'm being generous. But instead of that 3 year period of having 47K there, I've now got 280,000 cash sitting there. And that's just one property. I've done it with 8 in super as well, and that's a cheapie as well. That's a very basic. I've done it with houses that are worth 600,000 that are now worth 1.1, 400K has gone to 850, etc., etc. But this is what you could be doing, buying properties in superannuation. If you don't have funds in savings, if you don't have equity, if you don't have borrowing capacity in your individual name, you would likely be able to borrow using super, as long as you're getting super contributions from your workplace, or actually you're getting contributions into your super every year. So if someone's hypothetically on even 60 grand a year, then 10% of that or 9.5% of that would be going into their own super each year, which would be 60K they're getting paid. 6 grand of that every year would be going into. The borrowing capacity also works off the property's rental return. So this property at 135 when I bought it, it was already renting out for like $280, $300 a week. So the bank basically takes that $300 per week and the super contributions, puts it together and qualifies it for a loan amount, which was 80% of the property value. To me, this is super, super exciting. That return there, call it 900%, 1,000% in terms of like deposit costs, right? That's almost 1,000% return within 3 years. No one else, I haven't seen, I see these videos pop up all the time on YouTube and investors saying,
we've got 300% return over like X amount of years. Like
that's the best return that there is. I challenge any other property investor to find a better return than that than in 2 to 3 years. And that was a cheapie. You might be asking the question, well, that was when the properties were 135,000, 3 years ago. What am I meant to do now? 2 things. The first thing is, you should have listened to me when I said buy the one properties for 135, when I said buy properties in Queensland, buy units, buy townhouses, buy affordable stuff. You should have listened. You didn't listen. Hopefully some of you did. For the ones that did listen, congratulations, great work. You might have hopefully seen this book. This is about 2 years old now, 30 properties before 30. This is some of the strategies that are in there. The new book that we've got right here, How to Buy 10 Properties Fast, right? It gives you a clear example of how you can buy 10 properties within 7, 3, or even 12 months, right? So the strategies are in these books. You can check them out. You can jump online. You can grab them, like the immense amount of value in that book. Now, the option and choice that you have is, do you listen now? And to me, like I'm still buying properties every single day. We've helped hundreds, if not thousands of property investors every year get into the property market. And what I've been saying, which is in the newest book, is that I would say buy affordable properties in Perth right now, because you can still get, they might not be 135, but you can still get properties that are 280,000, 300,000. And they haven't, in terms of the cycle, see if I can rub this off. Just before we go on to the next point, right? That example that I showed you there before, which was literally, I turned 35,000 into $280,000 roughly worth of superannuation. Jump on Google right now and type in what does the average Australian retire with? Usually it's around between 260,000 to like 350,000. So in 3 years, I turned 30 grand roughly in 3 years, the amount of super that the average Australian retires with when they're at the age of 65. In 3 years. This is the power of buying investment properties and doing and following the strategy that I've created, that I've used to build my own portfolio. You know, that would have been, even now as an example, if I did it and I'm 32 years old, I've condensed 33 years into 3 years. I've saved like 30 years of working just by doing something a little bit different. You know, there will be a lot of negative and naysayers and all that other kind of people saying, well, you can't do it now, but like I'm doing it right now again. I'm buying a property just like this in Super, again, in Perth right now. This is possible. It's always going to be possible. You can either decide if you have the attitude that you can do it, or you can have the attitude that it's too hard, it's too difficult, doesn't, you know, it's a lie, or whatever it is. But I've given you the addresses. I've given you the address of the property that I bought when I bought it in 2020, and then the same property and the address, you can see it in the video, that I bought and then that I sold literally 3 years later. And if you jump on RP data, you can see it said Deline owned, like my SMSF name came up with it. So the facts are there, and that's the evidence. There's no other way to prove it other than that, right? So normally other people wouldn't even give you the address of the property. Normally other people wouldn't even tell you, you know, which property, but you can check it up. RP data it, jump on there, you can see that I owned it. I bought it in 2020 and I sold it for $395, triple the value roughly 3 years later. If you are interested in something like this, and if you've only come across the videos, then obviously watch the other videos, check them out. Watch the other SMSF about how to set it up, because I'm not going into how to set up the SMSF process in this video right now. This is purely an example to show you what a huge advantage it is to buy in an SMSF residential investment property over the traditional, because I just saved myself 30 years with one property and done it with 8 properties. So my super balance, in terms of if I was to literally sell up the properties, the remaining properties in there, it would probably be close to $2 million at least just in super if I just liquidated it, and about 2 million plus sitting there in cash. At least, probably close to 2.5, maybe even 3. I haven't even done the numbers because obviously I can't. That's one thing that people will say as in a negative way, where you can't touch it until you know, in the retirement phase of 60, 65 or whatever it is. That is true, but that's why I think long term. But this is another area, another side long-term hustle that you can do inside of super to build that up and save yourself 30 years of work. And you can do this with other people as well. Like you could do it with a brother or a sister. You can have up to, off the top of my head, again, no financial advice, you can have up to 4 people on a SMSF. So you could do it with, you know, your partner, parents, whatever it is. You can put it all together and do that. If you were to do something like this and you pick up, let's say, an affordable property right now in Perth. So let's say 350,000. 350K within the Perth market. It's a, you know, a townhouse, a villa, a unit, or whatever it is, but it's within the Perth, you know, radius. So like, if that's Perth right there, then you know you've got the rings. And it's 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15, 20 kilometers. Like you can get affordable stuff in the Perth inner rings. Villas, townhouses, units, maybe not houses on big blocks of land or whatever, but that property, the example that I bought before wasn't a house, it was a townhouse strata, and it tripled even more than a house. So you can buy cheap stuff all around, you know, there. Perth's the last capital city, and this is probably one of your last chances to do something if you wanna actually take action finally. 350,000 you can buy property. You can buy property for 280, but I'm just using 350 as an example. If you have, let's say, 90,000 in super, check your super balance. If you have 90K in super, then this is technically possible for you. If you have 45 and your partner has 45 and you got 90, well then that's possible as well. You can do this. I have seen people do it this year with as little as 65,000 in super, as an example. It is possible. If you go off, let's say you've got 90K in super as an example, then 350,000, you pick up a property. Again, let's say this property is in Perth and it's running for $550 a week, because that's the type of returns you can get in Perth. So it's running for $550 a week. It's a nice property, and the return on $550 per week, and it's 350, that's about a 7.5%, 8% return. So the yield is good. And you go to the bank, you go to a lender, you go to a mortgage broker. We've got mortgage brokers, contact us. We'll put you into contact with them as well. 20%, what's 20% of 350? 70 grand. So 75K, oh sorry, 70 grand, 70K is the deposit on the property. 70K, and then your loan is what? 350 minus 70 is 280. So your loan's only 280K roughly. Out of the 280K loan, you're getting $550 a week. So it's paying itself off anyway. It's paying council rates, water rates, management fees, and insurance. Yes, your interest rate is a little bit higher, but so what? we did the example that I did before. 30 grand I would have had, or 10 times that. Like 300,000, 280,000 I made. In 3 years, what's better? 30 grand or 280,000? I'll take the latter. 70K, stamp duty, legal fees, pest and building, etc. Let's just say it's 15K, 70 and 15, 85,000. You know, you had 90 grand in there, you still got 5 left over. Bob's your uncle, you got a property in super. It can be that easy. It can also be hard. That's why we've got people that we can put you in touch with, which can take care of the entire process. We have people who can set up the SMSF for you. It can be set up within 4 weeks. If you start the ball rolling today, it could be set up in 4 to 6 weeks. Worst case scenario. It takes some time to roll the funds over, etc. After that, we've got people who can help you get the finance on this. After that, we can source you the property if you would like some help with that. If not, then get the property on your own, and you know, at least we've got the other 2 underway. At least you took some sort of action. That's what you could be doing. If you got that amount of super, it is possible. People are doing every day. I guarantee you, I've got like 2 clients that are doing it this week. It could be you. So I would urge you to pull the finger out and get something done this year, because before you know it, the year's gonna be over, and then you're gonna be, you know, sitting on the sidelines. You have the and have regret that you didn't do anything. I own over 100 properties and I still regret the ones that got away. I encourage you to take action, do something today. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till next month or next quarter or next year. Just do something today. Click on the link at the bottom of this video if you are interested, and inquire on our website, and we'll put you in contact with people. Have a free discovery call with our team and we can point you in the right direction about how we can help if you're interested. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.